You know what's truly amusing? Whenever people romanticize working as servants in those grand Edwardian households, they paint this picture-perfect scene. The gleaming silverware, the crisp uniforms, the tantalizing glimpses into aristocratic lives. But here's a reality check that might shock you. In early 1900s Britain, over 1.5 million people toiled as domestic servants. That staggering number surpassed factory and farm workers combined. And let me shatter another illusion. Most weren't living some Downton Abbey fantasy. They endured 17-hour days in damp basement kitchens, slept in freezing attic cubbies, and emptied chamber pots filled with their employer's waste. Trust me, the reality bore no resemblance to those polished period dramas. Oh, and if you're enjoying these hard truths, do smash that like button. I'm genuinely curious where you're listening from. Drop your location and current time in the comments. It blows my mind imagining people across time zones drifting asleep to these stories. Now, let's transport you back to 1905. Buckle up, this will be quite the ride. First, get comfortable. I mean it. Fluff those pillows, wrap yourself in that blanket. You'll need every bit of coziness for where we're headed. Congratulations. You've just awakened in Edwardian England, 1905. Meet Lucy Bennett, 15 years old, daughter of an impoverished East End seamstress. Your eyelids flutter open to absolute darkness. Not the gentle dark of modern bedrooms with their glowing electronics, but an oppressive, suffocating blackness that presses against your eyeballs like physical weight. You're lying on a scratchy straw mattress that crackles beneath you, reeking of mildew, a far cry from your memory foam bed back home. The coarse wool blanket chafes your skin. The air hangs frigid, the kind of cold that turns your breath into visible ghosts. 3 other girls snore softly in your cramped attic dormitory. One mumbles incoherently in her sleep. Your stomach clenches violently, not just from hunger, but bone-deep terror. Today marks your first day as a scullery maid at Thornfield Hall, a sprawling Hampshire estate. Your mother secured this respectable position through distant connections. You'll have food and shelter, she'd said. What more could a girl like you expect? That phrase, a girl like you, carried its own brutal meaning. For someone of your station, options were bleak. Dangerous factory work, even deadlier streets, or the relative safety of domestic service. Suddenly, a bell jangles violently in the darkness. Not some genteel chime, but an insistent, demanding rattle. A match flares. Martha, the head housemaid, lights a stubby candle, bathing the room in sickly yellow light. Up you get, girls, she whispers. 5 sharp. Cook wants the range lit and water boiling before she comes down. 5 in the morning. Every muscle screams from yesterday's ordeal. The train ride from London, the endless walk to the estate with your pathetic cardboard suitcase, the terrifying interview with Mrs. Wilson. The housekeeper had inspected you like livestock at market. Bit scrawny, she'd remarked to the air. But she'll do. The last girl ran off to a factory, as if that's any life for a respectable girl. Martha nudges you. Come on, new girl. No dawdling on your first day. And remember Mrs. Wilson's golden rule. Servants should be neither seen nor heard. Actually, she amends darkly, best if you're not seen at all. You stumble from bed. The floorboards bite your bare feet with icy teeth. The other girls move with practiced efficiency, splashing frigid water from a shared basin onto their faces, pinning up their hair. No luxurious showers here. Just a hasty wipe of face, neck, and hands with a damp rag. Dressing becomes a fumbling ordeal with the unfamiliar uniform Martha tosses you. A rough cotton dress, scratchy white apron, and mob cap. The family's still abed, she explains, but Mr. Simmons expects everything prepped 2 hours before needed. God help you if you're not ready when he descends. Your fingers struggle with the tiny buttons. Back home, you'd never worn anything so utilitarian. Martha gives you a critical once-over. That'll suffice for now, though you'll need proper uniforms soon. A week's wages should cover it. A week's earnings just for work clothes? This hadn't occurred to you. Martha softens slightly at your expression. Don't fret. Mrs. Patterson in the village makes them cheap. Now move. We're behind schedule. You follow her down a narrow, twisting staircase, 64 exact steps from attic to basement kitchen. You'll climb these stairs countless times daily, hauling coal scuttles, hot water cans, clean linens, soiled linens, chamber pots. These stairs will become your constant companion, your personal tormentor. The kitchen yawns before you, a cavernous, shadowy space dominated by a monstrous iron range. This hulking beast will be your responsibility to light each morning. No electric stoves in 1905. No convenient switches. Just iron, coal, and backbreaking labor. Martha thrusts a shovel at you. First, clear yesterday's ashes. Then layer kindling like so. Coal goes atop. Ensure it catches properly. If cook's range isn't hot enough for breakfast, she'll skin you alive. The ashes cling to your hands like gray leprosy. The stench of old smoke permeates your hair, your skin. This bears no resemblance to flipping your coffee maker's switch back home. Once that's lit, Martha continues without checking your progress. Start heating water. Gallons of it. The family needs washing water brought up. And polish the brass while the water heats. The tasks multiply endlessly. Scrub the servants' entrance steps. Polish 14 pairs of boots. Assist cook with breakfast prep. Empty ash buckets from upstairs fireplaces. Scour the kitchen floor. All before your own meager breakfast, eaten standing in the kitchen while the family's meal is prepared. When do I finish? You dare to ask, your voice tiny in the vast kitchen. Martha laughs, not unkindly, but with genuine amusement. Finish? Oh, you poor lamb. You don't finish. Not truly. You work until the family retires, sometimes midnight if they're entertaining. Then up again at 5 tomorrow. The reality of your new existence crashes over you. 6-day weeks, half Sundays off if you're lucky, £3 annual wages plus room and board. Factory girls earn more monthly. But as your mother said, at least you won't inhale cotton dust or lose fingers to machinery. Don't look so grim, Martha says, reading your thoughts. It beats the workhouse. There it was, the ultimate measuring stick. Not good, just better than starvation. The kitchen gradually stirs to life. Betsy the kitchen maid arrives to chop vegetables, followed by formidable Mrs. Peters, whose forearms rival dock workers from decades of kneading dough. And finally Mr. Simmons, the butler, immaculate despite the ungodly hour. They barely acknowledge you. As scullery maid, you're the lowest of the low, human dishwasher, pot scrubber, invisible ghost. By 7 a.m., you've already blackened the range, hauled 12 cold buckets, polished 14 pairs of boots, scrubbed the back steps, and peeled mountains of potatoes. Your hands are raw, your back screams, and the day has barely begun. Time for hot water duty, Martha announces. She demonstrates filling heavy brass cans without scalding yourself. Each weighs nearly 10 pounds full, and you must carry them up all 64 steps to the family bedrooms. Don't spill, Martha warns, and avoid being seen. Use the back stairs. If you encounter a family member, press against the wall, eyes down. Never meet their gaze. The first can nearly dislocate your shoulder. By the third, your muscles shriek in protest. By the fifth, you've developed a crude technique. Back straight, stairs slow, mind blank. As you round a corner on the back stairs with your 6th can of water, your body tenses instinctively when a sudden movement catches your peripheral vision. There, gliding down the grand staircase like a swan on a moonlit lake, stands Lady Catherine, the eldest daughter of Thornfield Hall, wrapped in a silk dressing gown that probably costs more than your mother earns in 5 years. You freeze mid-step, Martha's warnings ringing in your ears like alarm bells. Eyes down. Press against the wall. Become part of the architecture. Your muscles lock as the young aristocrat approaches, her lavender perfume cutting through the stale servant staircase air like a knife through butter. But then, the impossible happens. Lady Catherine sweeps past without so much as a flicker of recognition, her embroidered slippers whispering across the polished steps. You might as well have been one of the carved newel posts for all the notice she took. The moment lasts barely 3 seconds, but it etches itself into your consciousness with startling clarity. Back in the kitchen's humid chaos, you whisper excitedly to Martha. Did you see her? Lady Catherine, just now on the stairs. Martha barely glances up from scrubbing pots. See who? The young mistress. She passed right by me. Martha shrugs, her hands never breaking rhythm. Truth be told, I stopped noticing them years back, and they never notice us. That's how the system works. But you had noticed. You'd cataloged every detail. The way the morning light caught the gold threads in her robe, how her chestnut hair cascaded in perfect curls, the faint frown line between her eyebrows that suggested even privileged girls have worries. Most of all, you'd registered the absolute certainty in her bearing, the unshakable knowledge that the world existed to serve her. This revelation settles over you like coal dust. You're not just carrying hot water. You're a ghost haunting the corridors of this grand house, moving through the lives of the wealthy without leaving ripples. The silver you polish won't remember your fingers. The beds you make won't recall your touch. The kitchen becomes a whirlwind of preparation for the family's breakfast, an elaborate production featuring kippers, deviled kidneys, and toast served on silver platters with domed lids to retain heat. Your own breakfast, by cruel contrast, consists of weak tea, so translucent you could read newspaper through it, and a heel of stale bread smeared with congealed fat. You gulp it standing by the scullery sink, your aching feet begging for just 5 minutes respite. What happens after breakfast? You ask Betsy the kitchen maid between frantic bites. Betsy pauses her vegetable chopping to stare at you like you've grown a second head. After breakfast? Why, we start preparing lunch, of course. And so the morning dissolves into a blur of relentless labor, scrubbing pots until your knuckles bleed, peeling what feels like a mountain of potatoes, running endless errands for the red-faced cook. Your arms transform into lead weights. Your feet throb inside second-hand boots 2 sizes too large. Your lower back knots itself into a permanent ache. Then, salvation. The servant's dinner bell clangs through the basement like the gates of heaven opening. You nearly weep with relief at the thought of sitting down. The servants' hall reveals itself as a narrow, windowless room dominated by a scarred wooden table. But when you move to sit near the middle, Betsy yanks your elbow with surprising strength. "Not there," she hisses. "Upper servants sit there. Our place is at the far end." You quickly learn the unspoken seating hierarchy mirrors the household's power structure. Mr. Simmons, butler, enthroned at the head. Mrs. Wilson, housekeeper, presiding at the foot. Valets and ladies' maids in the next tier. Cook and footman following. Housemaids relegated to the middle. Kitchen staff like Betsy near the end. And you, lowly scullery maid, crammed onto a bench that doesn't properly fit under the table. The food, while simple, tastes divine after your morning's labor. A thick vegetable stew with occasional meat surprises, hearty bread, and boiled potatoes. Conversation flows around you like a river around a stone, rarely including the new girl. "Did you hear?" whispers Thomas the footman. "Lady Catherine's got a new suitor, some Yorkshire baron. Father's rolling in coal money." The lady's maid snorts. "She'd better secure him quick. At 22, she's practically shelf-bound." Laughter ripples down the table. Even Mr. Simmons cracks a smile. You listen, fascinated by these glimpses into upstairs life, like reading a novel in fragments, piecing together stories about people you'll never truly know, despite living under the same roof. New girl. Mrs. Wilson's voice slices through your thoughts. "You'll assist serving tea this afternoon. One of the housemaids took ill." Your stomach plummets. Serving tea means entering the sacred space of the drawing room, being seen by the family. "But I don't know how." "Then you'll learn," Mrs. Wilson declares, her tone brooking no argument. Post-lunch brings 15 precious minutes of rest in the servants' hall, a sliver of time others use for mending or letter writing. You simply sit, massaging your swollen feet, trying not to dwell on the impending tea service disaster. All too soon, Martha drags you aside for crash course training. Don't speak unless spoken to. Offer the tray from the left. Keep the pot filled. And for God's sake, don't drop anything. At precisely 4 p.m., you follow Martha up the main staircase. No backstairs anonymity now. The opulence steals your breath. Plush carpets swallowing footsteps, gleaming wood paneling, crystal chandeliers refracting sunlight into rainbows. The drawing room surpasses even this. sunlight streaming through floor-to-ceiling windows onto silk wallpaper and velvet upholstery. Lady Thornfield lounges on a chaise while Lady Catherine and two fashionable visitors perch on gilded chairs. Their afternoon gowns, pale pink, mint green, and butter yellow, look like a bouquet of expensive flowers. Martha nudges you forward with the heavy silver tea service. Your hands tremble as you offer delicate sandwiches and petit fours. The ladies take their selections without glancing at you, until Lady Catherine pauses, her hazel eyes meeting yours directly. "You're new, aren't you?" The question paralyzes you. Martha hadn't prepared you for actual interaction. "Yes, my lady." You manage, voice barely audible. "What's your name?" "Lucy, my lady." A strange expression flickers across her face. "Well, Lucy, mind that tray. Those are Wedgwood plates. Each one costs more than your annual wages." Her tone holds no malice, just simple fact. You nod, cheeks burning, as the conversation resumes as if nothing happened. "The Cartwright's ball was disastrous," declares one visitor. "Second-rate orchestra and lukewarm champagne." "Did you see Mrs. Burnham's gown?" Another giggles. That hideous green satin made her resemble an overripe pear. Their laughter sparkles like the chandelier crystals as you stand motionless, tray growing heavier by the minute. 11 hours of labor already, and your day's only half done. Back in the kitchen's sweltering underworld, dinner preparations have reached a fever pitch. This will be your baptism by fire into the elaborate ritual of an Edwardian formal dinner service, a military operation requiring precision, timing, and backbreaking labor. Course orders reversed by importance. Betsy explains as you frantically polish yet more silverware. Soup first, then fish, then entree, then joint, then roast, then sorbet to cleanse palates, then game or poultry, then sweet, then savory, then dessert. You pause mid-polish, forehead creasing. Dessert and sweet aren't the same thing? Betsy's laughter rings off the copper pots. "Lord, no. Sweets, puddings, or pastries. Dessert's just fruit and nuts. It's all very." She searches for the right word, her polishing cloth moving in practice circles. "Particular." You supply, watching how the candlelight catches on a soup spoon's monogram. That word sticks in your mind as you navigate this strange new world. Particular. Every action here follows unspoken rules more rigid than the corsets currently squeezing the ladies upstairs. The brass must be polished with a specific paste applied in clockwise motions. Vegetables must be diced to exact 1/4-inch cubes. Even table settings require rulers to measure precise distances between cutlery. You're not just cleaning objects, you're maintaining illusions. The illusion that silver polishes itself, that hot water magically appears in basins, that 8-course meals materialize effortlessly. Your entire existence here serves one purpose: to ensure Lady Thornfield never has to consider how her world functions. By midnight, when the last dish is finally cleared and the kitchen scrubbed to cook's exacting standards, you've worked 17 consecutive hours. Your body moves on autopilot up the 64 stairs to the attic, each step sending fresh jolts of pain through your swollen feet. The dormitory's other girls are already in various states of undress, too exhausted for conversation. You peel off your sweat-stiffened uniform, splash icy water from the shared basin onto your grime-streaked face, and collapse onto the thin mattress that will never fully ease your aching muscles. First day's the hardest, Martha murmurs from her corner bed. You'll adapt, but as you drift toward sleep, something unexpected stirs beneath the exhaustion, a fragile sense of accomplishment. You didn't break anything, didn't get sacked. Learned to light ranges, polish silver, carry tea trays without rattling cups. Small victories, perhaps, but yours alone. Through the attic's grimy window, the same stars shine over London where your mother sleeps, over Thornfield's grand bedrooms where Lady Catherine slumbers, over this cramped servant's quarters where you hover between sleep and wakefulness. Then chaos. A commotion erupts in the hallway. Urgent footsteps, hushed voices. Martha bolts upright. That's never good at this hour. She returns minutes later, face grim. William the hall boy collapsed. Been working with fever all day. Mrs. Wilson sent for the doctor, but the unspoken truth hangs heavy. Servants who can't work don't stay employed. Poor lad, murmurs another maid. Only 12 years old. 12. Younger than your baby brother back home. Doing the same brutal hours as adults. Should we help? You whisper. Martha shakes her head. Nothing to be done. Get some sleep. If he's gone tomorrow, we'll all pick up his duties until they replace him. Just like that, the matter's closed. Another reminder of your disposability. You close your eyes, but sleep eludes you now. You think of feverish William alone in some attic cot. Of Lady Catherine's silk-draped four-poster bed. Of your mother who believed she was giving you a better life. The second day dawns worse than the first. Every muscle screams in protest when Martha shakes you awake. Your fingernails throb. Your eyelashes ache. But the bell has rung, and in service, the bell is law. Cook wants to see you, Martha whispers. Dread pools in your stomach as you follow her down the 64 steps. Is this about yesterday's near miss with Lady Catherine? The slightly chipped gravy boat nobody noticed? The kitchen buzzes with activity. William's absence is palpable. A wiry new boy struggles with a coal scuttle twice his size. Mrs. Peters stands at the range, kneading dough with arms that could wrestle bears. "Ah, Lucy," she says without turning. "Martha says you didn't disgrace yourself yesterday." A compliment? Already? With William gone, we're short-handed. Cook continues. "You'll take on extra duties. Can you handle that?" You nod, not trusting your voice. "First, understand the rules," she says, finally facing you. "In this house, there's a right way and wrong way for everything, and consequences for doing things wrong." Her flour-dusted finger jabs the air for emphasis. Mr. Simmons likes the morning papers ironed. Mrs. Wilson inspects bedmaking at 10 sharp. The master's shaving water must be 130 degrees exactly. Fail in any of this, and you'll wish you'd stayed in London. The range doesn't light itself. She finishes, shoving a shovel into your hands. As you scoop ashes, you wonder about William. Was he dismissed? Sent home? Or simply replaced like a broken clock hand? Stand straight. Martha hisses later as you slump over the scullery sink. Mrs. Wilson's making rounds. The housekeeper sweeps in, keys jingling at her waist, symbols of power granting access to every locked cupboard, every forbidden room. Her hawk eyes miss nothing. "Copper needs more polishing," she declares to the air. And sweep under the table again. "I see crumbs." You scrub an already clean pot furiously, hoping to escape notice. No such luck. "New girl, you'll serve at dinner tonight. Martha will see you're properly dressed. I won't have the family seeing servants looking like ragamuffins." Serve at dinner? Your stomach plummets. More visibility, more chances to err. Martha takes you to her room later, producing a black dress with white cuffs from a battered trunk. "My old serving dress. It'll swallow you, but we can pin it." The transformation astonishes you. The crisp uniform lends dignity your scullery rags never could. The starched white cap completes the picture. Remember, Martha coaches as she adjusts your collar. The family doesn't want to know you exist. Stand still. Don't fidget. And for God's sake, if you drop anything, pray it lands on your foot, not the carpet. At 6 p.m. sharp, you follow Martha to the butler's pantry where Mr. Simmons inspects silver with a jeweler's intensity. The footmen, Thomas and James, stand at attention in their livery, looking like toy soldiers. "Ah, the new girl," Mr. Simmons says without looking up. "You'll stand by the sideboard. Watch Martha for cues. When I nod, clear from the left. Always the left. And don't clink the china." The dining room steals your breath. Crystal glasses refracting candlelight, silver gleaming against starched linen, fresh roses perfuming the air. "Don't gawk," Thomas mutters. Makes you look simple. The family enters in a rustle of silk and murmur of conversation. Lord and Lady Thornfield leading, followed by Lady Catherine and their Oxford-educated son Henry. Two neighbors complete the party, Sir William and Lady Barton. You stand motionless by the sideboard as courses come and go. Clear turtle soup, poached salmon with hollandaise, roast pheasant with chestnut stuffing. The conversation flows around hunting seasons and motor cars versus horses. Henry wants one of those infernal machines. Lady Thornfield sighs. Not a fad, mother. Lord Henry counters. The future. In 10 years, everyone will have one. When your moment comes to clear plates, your hands barely tremble. Left side, no rushing, one plate at a time. The family talks through you as if you're furniture, until Lady Catherine glances up as you reach for her plate. A flicker of recognition passes between you. Or did you imagine it? Back in the kitchen, Betsy nods approvingly as you stack clean plates. Getting the hang of it. Took me a week to stop breaking things. By dessert service, your hands are raw from hot water and lye soap, but a strange pride blooms in your chest. The clean stacks of china ready for tomorrow's breakfast testify to your growing competence. Not bad for day 2, Martha says later in the servants' hall. Mrs. Wilson might make a housemaid of you yet. Is that a promotion? Thomas leans back, grinning. Let me explain our hierarchy. He points around the room. Mr. Simmons is general. Mrs. Wilson commands female staff. Cook answers only to Lady Thornfield. Then comes valets and ladies' maids. They're aristocracy among us servants. Footmen next, he continues, preening slightly. Ranked by height. Taller footmen earn more. Your eyebrows shoot up. Seriously? Of course. We're decorative as well as useful. He winks. Then housemaids, kitchen staff, and at the bottom, scullery maids and hall boys. So moving up to housemaid means better pay, better hours, better tips from guests, Martha confirms. How long does that take? The room's mood shifts. Martha exchanges glances with others. Depends. Some never move up. Some advance faster with certain qualities. The way she says qualities makes you think she doesn't mean skill. Thomas sobers. Don't get ambitious. Know your place. That's how you survive service. That night, helping Martha turn down beds in the family's rooms, you glimpse Lady Catherine's world up close. 4 poster beds with silk hangings, dressing tables laden with silver brushes, wardrobes bursting with gowns. More dresses than I've seen in my life, you whisper. Each costs more than we make in a year. Martha replies matter-of-factly. As you plump pillows, something unsettling occurs to you. Lady Catherine's gilded cage may differ from yours, but it's still a cage. Different bars, same confinement. The next morning arrives with an unexpected summons that sends your pulse racing. Mrs. Wilson's bony finger beckons you into her office, a cramped space smelling of starch and disapproval. Lady Catherine has requested your assistance this afternoon, she announces, her lips pursed as if tasting something sour. Her regular lady's maid is indisposed. Your mouth goes dry. Me, Mrs. Wilson? But I'm not trained. Obviously, she cuts in, nostrils flaring. But her ladyship was apparently impressed by your service at dinner. Said you had steadier hands than the others. She thrusts a feather duster at you. Make yourself presentable by 2 o'clock. The hours crawl by as you scrub floors with renewed vigor, your mind whirling. Why would Lady Catherine single you out? Was this some cruel aristocratic game? By the time you knock on her bedroom door, your palms have gone clammy against your freshly starched apron. The room smells like a summer garden, lavender and beeswax with undertones of expensive perfume. Sunlight streams through lace curtains, gilding Lady Catherine's chestnut hair as she sits at her writing desk. "Ah, Lucy," she says without turning. "Good. I need help sorting through my wardrobe before the London season." She gestures to a mountain of silk and taffeta heaped across her canopied bed. "Mother insists I donate some to my Hampshire cousins. Poor dears can't afford proper dresses." The casual cruelty of "poor dears" makes your fingers twitch. These hand-me-downs represent treasures beyond your wildest dreams. Lady Catherine holds up a blue silk gown with pearl beading. Too juvenile, perhaps? You swallow hard. "It's lovely, my lady. The color would suit you beautifully." She studies you with sudden interest. You have an eye for color. Interesting. For the next hour, you enter the strangest pantomime of your life. A noble woman soliciting fashion advice from a scullery maid. Gradually, your responses grow bolder as you realize she genuinely values your opinion. When you help fold the discarded dresses, your calloused fingers leave faint marks on the delicate fabrics. Temporary scars that will vanish by morning. "Lucy," she asks abruptly, "can you read?" The question catches you mid-fold. Yes, my lady. My mother made sure of it. Good. She selects 3 volumes from her shelves. You may have these. Hide them well. Mrs. Wilson wouldn't approve of servants reading novels. The books feel alien in your hands. Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice, Charlotte Bronte's Jane Eyre, and an unfamiliar title, Howard's End by E.M. Forster. You clutch them to your chest, overwhelmed by this illicit gift. As you turn to leave, Lady Catherine's voice stops you. Lucy, what would you be if you weren't in service? The question hangs between you like a soap bubble. No one has ever asked you this since that strange moment months ago. I don't know, my lady, you admit. I've never thought about it. She nods slowly. Neither have I. About myself, I mean. A shadow crosses her face. Funny, isn't it? All these choices about what to wear, but none about what to be. That night, long after the others sleep, you unfold Pride and Prejudice beneath a purloined candle stub. The opening line mesmerizes you. It is a truth universally acknowledged that a single man in possession of a good fortune must be in want of a wife. The words vibrate through you, not just a story, but a key to understanding Lady Catherine's cage. Summer bleeds into autumn at Thornfield. The trees in the park transform into fire. Crimson and gold leaves swirling in the crisp air. The family departs for London, leaving the house eerily quiet. It's no holiday for us. Martha grumbles as you polish the grand staircase banister together. Just different work. Spring cleaning in autumn. She's right. With the masters gone, Mrs. Wilson unleashes a cleaning frenzy. Carpets beaten within an inch of their lives. Curtains stripped and rehung. Silver polished until you can see your exhausted reflection in every spoon. Yet there's something almost pleasant about the change. No bells summoning you at all hours. No formal dinners requiring military precision. Even Mr. Simmons relaxes enough to turn a blind eye when Thomas smuggles an ale from the village. They return Saturday. Mrs. Wilson announces one October morning, with 10 guests for the shooting party. Prepare the blue bedroom, the rose bedroom, and 4 guest rooms in the east wing. A collective groan ripples through the staff, quickly stifled. Lucy, she continues, you'll assist Ellen with the guest rooms. Martha says you learn quickly. Your chest swells, another small promotion. Not quite housemaid yet, but no longer just a scullery maid either. Ellen, a junior housemaid, gives you a conspiratorial wink across the breakfast table. And I need someone to fetch extra candles and soap from the village, Mrs. Wilson adds. The delivery won't come until tomorrow. Your hand shoots up before you can reconsider. I'll go, Mrs. Wilson. Her eyebrows lift slightly, but she nods. Back by noon. The 2-mile walk to the village feels like emancipation. Crisp air fills your lungs. Sunlight warms your face. Simple pleasures you hadn't realized you missed. The village unfolds like a storybook illustration. Stone cottages clustered around a green, a Norman church, a pub called the Red Lion with smoke curling from its chimney. The chandler's shop smells wonderfully of beeswax and spices. From Thornfield Hall, are you? The shopkeeper asks as he wraps soap in brown paper. Yes, sir. Just started this summer. How are you finding it? His tone holds genuine curiosity rather than the usual servants' hall gossip. You hesitate, then settle on diplomacy. Hard work, but the food's good. He chuckles. That's more than most can say. Working for Mrs. Wilson, eh? Proper dragon, that one. Leaning closer, he adds. Had a girl last year ran off with a traveling salesman. Never heard from again. Poor lass. The church draws you in with its cool, dim silence. Reverend Clark, a kind-faced man in clerical collar, welcomes you warmly. We've a servant's reading circle Sundays at 2, he mentions casually. Books, tea, conversation. You'd be welcome. The idea sends a thrill through you. Other servants who read, discuss ideas, think beyond their stations. But servants rarely get more than an hour off Sundays. Could you manage it? You return to Thornfield with your purchases and a head full of dangerous thoughts. The family's return brings predictable chaos, guns firing at dawn, mud tracked through halls, endless boots to clean. But through it all, you catch glimpses of Lady Catherine moving through her world with new awareness. Sometimes, when she thinks no one's looking, You see her fingers tracing the spines of books in the library, the same way you touch your hidden treasures beneath your mattress. One November afternoon, as rain lashes against the windows, Lady Catherine hands you a slim volume. Tennyson. Start with The Lady of Shalott. I think you'll like it. And you do. The tragic tale of the lady cursed to view life only through a mirror resonates painfully. Why does she leave the tower? You ask when you finish reading. When she knows it will kill her. Lady Catherine sets aside her embroidery. Because she sees Lancelot and falls in love with the idea of him. She's never even spoken to him. But she dies. Yes, but she sees the world directly, not through a mirror. Perhaps that's worth dying for. The conversation lingers with you as you go about your duties. The lady in her tower choosing death over confinement. Lady Catherine in her gilded prison. You in yours of service and obedience. All viewing life through distorted reflections. Christmas arrives with its usual frenzy. Decorations hauled from attics. The Yule log dragged in by panting footmen. Special foods prepared. But this year brings an unexpected gift. A small package from Lady Catherine delivered discreetly by Martha. Inside lies a book of Tennyson's poems identical to the one you read together. On the flyleaf, in elegant script. For Lucy, may you find your own tower to escape from. See, you hide it beneath your mattress with the others, but the inscription burns in your mind. Escape, choice, possibility, dangerous concepts for a servant girl. The new year brings changes beyond resolutions. Lord Thornfield installs a telephone in his study, a monstrous contraption that terrifies the maids. Electric lights appear in the main rooms, their harsh glare revealing dust invisible in candlelight. Most astonishing of all, a motor car arrives, gleaming and terrifying, requiring a new servant called a chauffeur. Mr. Parker, the driver, represents something unprecedented at Thornfield, a servant with specialized knowledge that can't be easily replaced. He eats separately, speaks directly, and once even lets you peek under the motorcar's bonnet when Mrs. Wilson isn't looking. They'll replace us all with machines soon. Martha jokes one evening as you mend stockings by the fire. Betsy shrugs. Wouldn't mind. My cousin works in a Manchester shop. Better hours, better pay. It's not just machines, you add softly. It's attitudes. At the reading circle, servants discuss books as equals. Thomas grins. Next thing you know, we'll be wanting to vote. Some of us already do, Martha counters sharply. Or hadn't you noticed women marching in London? The suffragettes. You'd read about them in discarded newspapers. Women chaining themselves to railings, enduring prison, demanding voices in the laws governing them. As winter loosens its grip, something loosens inside you too. The boundaries of your world, once so rigid, now seem strangely fluid. If machines can change households, if women can demand votes, if Lady Catherine can dream beyond marriage, what might be possible for you? February arrives with a blizzard that silences the countryside under 2 feet of snow. The house groans under the weight of winter, its pipes freezing, its windows frosting over with delicate ice ferns. You're carrying freshly ironed linens to the upstairs closet when an argument spills from the slightly ajar library door. Lord and Lady Thornfield locked in a verbal duel sharp enough to pierce the thick oak panels. She's had 3 seasons now. 3. And turned down every suitable offer. Lord Thornfield's voice carries the edge of a blade being sharpened. She's particular, Lady Thornfield counters. Is that so wrong? It is when she's 23 and unwed. People are starting to talk. Let them talk. I won't force her. It's not about force, Eleanor. It's about duty. Position. Continuing the line. A pause heavy as the snow drifts outside. If Henry can propose to Lady Margaret, whom he barely knows, then surely Catherine. Catherine isn't Henry. Then what is she? The question hangs in the air like a guillotine blade. All those books, those ideas. She needs to put away childish things. Novels won't give her a home and family. You should move away. Eavesdropping is a sackable offense. But your feet root to the carpet as Lady Thornfield's voice drops to a whisper. Marriage might not give her happiness. Happiness. Lord Thornfield's roar rattles the crystal decanters. What has happiness to do with it? We're talking about duty, about what's expected of someone in her position. A floorboard creaks beneath you, heart hammering. You scurry away, the argument fading behind you. She has until the London season's end. If no suitable match is made by then, I'll choose for her. You wouldn't. I would. And she knows it. The exchange lingers like frost on your skin. That afternoon, while helping Lady Catherine organize her writing desk, you notice her fingers trembling slightly as she sorts correspondence. You're quiet today, Lucy, she observes without looking up. If I may ask, will you be going to London soon? For the season? Her lips twist. The annual marriage market. How I loathe it. You don't wish to marry, my lady? The question is impertinent, but she doesn't seem offended. It's not marriage itself I object to. It's marriage as transaction. My father sees it as an exchange, our bloodline for their money or connections. She looks up suddenly, hazel eyes searching yours. I want more than that. Like Elizabeth and Mr. Darcy, you venture before thinking better of it. Lady Catherine's eyebrows arch. You've been reading Austen. Good. Her smile fades. But this isn't a novel. Women like me don't choose based on affection. We select from options presented. Or, she trails off, her expression darkening. Or you don't choose at all. You finish softly. The silence between you grows heavy. Outside, snow begins falling again. Each flake a silent witness to this moment of dangerous honesty between mistress and maid. March arrives like a lamb, the snow melting into mud that clings stubbornly to boots and hems. One bright morning, Mrs. Wilson calls you into her office, a rare occurrence that sets your pulse racing. Martha speaks well of you. She begins without preamble. With Ellen leaving to marry, we're promoting you to junior housemaid. £12 per annum, and you'll move to the housemaid's dormitory. The words take a moment to register. A promotion after barely a year? Skipping the between-maid position entirely? Thank you, Mrs. Wilson. I won't disappoint you. See that you don't. The housemaid's dormitory might as well be a palace compared to the scullery maid's attic. Fewer beds, actual drawers for personal items, even a small rug by each bed. That night, as you pack your meager belongings, Martha sits on your straw mattress, her expression caught between pride and concern. You've risen faster than most, she admits, folding a worn stocking with care. But be cautious. Some will resent it. Some may wonder, why? Why what? Why you've advanced so quickly? Why Lady Catherine requests you specifically? Why Mrs. Wilson, who dislikes everyone, tolerates you? Her meaning dawns slowly, unpleasantly. You think Martha shakes her head. I'm just saying success has its dangers here. Keep your head down. The warning lingers as you fall asleep in your new bed. But another thought competes for attention, £12 a year. Enough to send money home regularly, perhaps even save. Spring deepens, and with it comes an unexpected invitation. Reverend Clark's reading circle meets Sundays at 2, a precious window between morning church and evening service. Your first visit feels like stepping into Narnia. A dozen servants from neighboring estates gathered in the parish hall, discussing Jane Eyre with passionate intensity. Bertha Mason isn't mad. She's imprisoned, declares a fiery-haired kitchen maid from the neighboring estate. Just like we're all imprisoned by class and... Careful now, Reverend Clark interjects gently, but he's smiling as he says it. You leave with your mind buzzing, the 2-mile walk back to Thornfield feeling shorter than usual. But the house is in uproar when you return. Lady Catherine has brought home a guest without consulting her parents. Some writer chap, Thomas whispers as you help prepare a guest room hastily. No title, no money. Her ladyship is fit to be tied. Mr. Edward Blackwood defies all expectations. His clothes, though quality, are slightly rumpled. His hair rebelliously long. He treats servants with casual courtesy rather than aristocratic indifference. Most shockingly, he engages Lady Catherine in spirited debates about women's education and factory reform during dinner, topics that make Lord Thornfield's knuckles whiten around his wineglass. February arrives with a blizzard that silences the countryside under 2 feet of snow. The house groans under the weight of winter, its pipes freezing, its windows frosting over with delicate ice ferns. You're carrying freshly ironed linens to the upstairs closet when an argument spills from the slightly ajar library door. Lord and Lady Thornfield locked in a verbal duel sharp enough to pierce the thick oak panels. She's had 3 seasons now. 3. And turned down every suitable offer. Lord Thornfield's voice carries the edge of a blade being sharpened. She's particular, Lady Thornfield counters. Is that so wrong? It is when she's 23 and unwed. People are starting to talk. Let them talk. I won't force her. It's not about force, Eleanor. It's about duty. Position. Continuing the line. A pause heavy as the snow drifts outside. If Henry can propose to Lady Margaret, whom he barely knows, then surely Catherine. Catherine isn't Henry. Then what is she? The question hangs in the air like a guillotine blade. All those books, those ideas. She needs to put away childish things. Novels won't give her a home and family. You should move away. Eavesdropping is a sackable offense. But your feet root to the carpet as Lady Thornfield's voice drops to a whisper. Marriage might not give her happiness. Happiness. Lord Thornfield's roar rattles the crystal decanters. What has happiness to do with it? We're talking about duty. About what's expected of someone in her position. A floorboard creaks beneath you. Heart hammering. You scurry away, the argument fading behind you. She has until the London season's end. If no suitable match is made by then, I'll choose for her. You wouldn't. I would. And she knows it. The exchange lingers like frost on your skin. That afternoon, while helping Lady Catherine organize her writing desk, you notice her fingers trembling slightly as she sorts correspondence. You're quiet today, Lucy, she observes without looking up. If I may ask, will you be going to London soon? For the season? Her lips twist. The annual marriage market. How I loathe it. You don't wish to marry, my lady? The question is impertinent, but she doesn't seem offended. It's not marriage itself I object to. It's marriage as transaction. My father sees it as an exchange, our bloodline for their money or connections. She looks up suddenly, hazel eyes searching yours. I want more than that. Like Elizabeth and Mr. Darcy, you venture before thinking better of it. Lady Catherine's eyebrows arch. You've been reading Austen. Good. Her smile fades. But this isn't a novel. Women like me don't choose based on affection. We select from options presented. Or, she trails off, her expression darkening. Or you don't choose at all. You finish softly. The silence between you grows heavy. Outside, snow begins falling again. Each flake a silent witness to this moment of dangerous honesty between mistress and maid. March arrives like a lamb, the snow melting into mud that clings stubbornly to boots and hems. One bright morning, Mrs. Wilson calls you into her office, a rare occurrence that sets your pulse racing. Martha speaks well of you. She begins without preamble. With Ellen leaving to marry, we're promoting you to junior housemaid. £12 per annum, and you'll move to the housemaid's dormitory. The words take a moment to register. A promotion after barely a year? Skipping the between-maid position entirely? Thank you, Mrs. Wilson. I won't disappoint you. See that you don't. The housemaid's dormitory might as well be a palace compared to the scullery maid's attic. Fewer beds, actual drawers for personal items, even a small rug by each bed. That night, as you pack your meager belongings, Martha sits on your straw mattress, her expression caught between pride and concern. You've risen faster than most, she admits, folding a worn stocking with care. But be cautious. Some will resent it. Some may wonder, why? Why what? Why you've advanced so quickly? Why Lady Catherine requests you specifically? Why Mrs. Wilson, who dislikes everyone, tolerates you? Her meaning dawns slowly, unpleasantly. You think Martha shakes her head. I'm just saying success has its dangers here. Keep your head down. The warning lingers as you fall asleep in your new bed. But another thought competes for attention, £12 a year. Enough to send money home regularly, perhaps even save. Spring deepens, and with it comes an unexpected invitation. Reverend Clark's reading circle meets Sundays at 2, a precious window between morning church and evening service. Your first visit feels like stepping into Narnia. A dozen servants from neighboring estates gathered in the parish hall, discussing Jane Eyre with passionate intensity. Bertha Mason isn't mad. She's imprisoned, declares a fiery-haired kitchen maid from the neighboring estate. Just like we're all imprisoned by class and... Careful now, Reverend Clark interjects gently, but he's smiling as he says it. You leave with your mind buzzing. The 2-mile walk back to Thornfield feeling shorter than usual. But the house is in uproar when you return. Lady Catherine has brought home a guest without consulting her parents. Some writer chap, Thomas whispers as you help prepare a guest room hastily. No title, no money. Her ladyship is fit to be tied. Mr. Edward Blackwood defies all expectations. His clothes, though quality, are slightly rumpled. His hair rebelliously long. He treats servants with casual courtesy rather than aristocratic indifference. Most shockingly, he engages Lady Catherine in spirited debates about women's education and factory reform during dinner, topics that make Lord Thornfield's knuckles whiten around his wineglass. The letter arrives on a January morning when frost feathers the window panes like delicate lace. Mrs. Wilson hands it to you with a frown that could sour milk, the postmark from New York City glaringly out of place among the usual estate correspondence. See that this doesn't interfere with your duties, she warns, her keys jangling ominously as she sweeps away. You wait until your afternoon break to slip into the freezing boot room, your numb fingers struggling to break the wax seal. Dearest Lucy, the letter begins in Lady Catherine's now unfamiliar hand. I hope this finds you well. Edward and I have been happily settled in New York since our March wedding. The words blur momentarily as your breath catches. She'd done it. Actually married him. The paper crackles as you smooth it against your knee, drinking in details of their tiny Greenwich Village apartment, the library where she volunteers, the women's suffrage meetings she attends. Then comes the paragraph that makes your pulse stutter. The New York Public Library seeks an assistant for their children's reading room, $15 weekly, with prospects for advancement. Should you ever wish to leave Thornfield, we've reserved you a steamship ticket for February 15th aboard the RMS Carmania. A ticket falls into your lap, thick cardstock embossed with the Cunard Line logo, your name printed boldly in the passenger manifest. You press it to your chest, the paper cool against your flushed skin. $15 a week, nearly double your Thornfield wages. A real position working with books, in a city where no one cares about your accent or lineage. That night, you lie awake listening to the other maids breathing, the ticket hidden beneath your pillow like a smuggled treasure. The numbers scroll behind your eyelids. 23 days until departure. 23 days to gather courage. Morning reveals Thornfield transformed by snowfall. The gardens buried under pristine white. The trees turned to crystal sculptures. You move through your duties mechanically, the ticket burning a hole in your apron pocket. At breakfast, Martha studies you over her teacup. You're leaving, she states quietly. Not a question. Your spoon clatters against your porridge bowl. How did? Worked with girls 40 years, haven't I? That look in your eyes, same as Lady Catherine had before she bolted. Martha surprises you by reaching across the table to squeeze your hand. Good for you. The days telescope strangely, sometimes dragging like cold molasses, sometimes vanishing in a blink. You begin discreetly packing. Your mother's locket, the Tennyson collection, 2 spare aprons. The rest, the scratchy wool dresses, the 2 large boots, can stay. February dawns with an unexpected thaw. Dripping icicles glitter like chandeliers in the weak sunlight. On your final Sunday, Reverend Clark presses a worn copy of Little Women into your hands at the reading circle. Alcott's heroine goes to New York too, he murmurs. Write to us, won't you? Let us live vicariously. The night before departure, you walk through Thornfield's silent corridors like a ghost saying goodbye. Here's the staircase where you first saw Lady Catherine. There's the pantry where Martha taught you to polish silver. The boot room where you wept from exhaustion that first week. Your last morning arrives with cruel irony. Mrs. Wilson assigns you to clean Lady Catherine's old bedroom. Sunlight slants through the same lace curtains as you strip the unused bed, your fingers lingering on the silk coverlet. In the wardrobe, a single forgotten glove lies crumpled in the corner. Kid leather, so fine it slips through your fingers like water. You tuck it into your pocket before you can reconsider. The staff gathers awkwardly in the servants' hall to say farewell. Cook surprises everyone by pressing a parcel of sausage rolls into your hands for the journey. Even Mrs. Wilson relents enough to give your shoulder an awkward pat. "Mind you right, Martha," she mutters. The daft woman's grown fond of you. Then you're standing at Thornfield's servants' entrance for the last time, your cardboard suitcase in hand. But instead of the expected cart to the station, Lord Thornfield himself waits in the motor car, his gloved hands resting on the steering wheel. "Lady Catherine wrote to me," he says as he stows your case. "Asked me to see you safely to Liverpool." His mouth twists wryly. "Least I could do." The drive passes in near silence, the motor car's engine drowning any need for conversation. But as Liverpool's smokestacks appear on the horizon, Lord Thornfield speaks unexpectedly. "She seems happy, you know. Catherine. Her letters. There's a lightness to them I haven't seen since she was a child." He glances at you, his aristocratic mask slipping just enough to reveal the tired father beneath. "I was angry at first. Felt she'd betrayed her duty. But now I wonder if she wasn't the bravest of us all." The RMS Carmania looms at the docks like a floating castle, its funnels belching smoke into the steel-gray sky. Lord Thornfield shakes your hand with surprising warmth at the gangplank. "Tell Catherine." He hesitates, then exhales sharply. "Tell her we understand now." Finally, then you're climbing aboard, your ticket clutched in trembling fingers. The ship's bustle swallows you whole, stewards directing passengers, luggage being hauled, whistles blowing. Your third-class berth surprises you with its neat compactness, a narrow bunk, a tiny wash basin, a porthole barely larger than a dinner plate. As the ship's horn blares its final warning, you rush back on deck. England shrinks with alarming speed, the dockworkers becoming ants, Liverpool dissolving into a smudge on the horizon. The wind whips your hair free from its pins as the first icy spray kisses your cheeks. Somewhere below, your suitcase holds the kid glove and Tennyson poems. Somewhere ahead, Lady Catherine, no, Mrs. Blackwood now, waits on a New York pier. But here, in this suspended moment between worlds, you're simply Lucy Bennett, no longer a servant, not yet anything else. The crossing takes 8 days. 8 days of adjusting to the ship's constant motion, of sharing close quarters with 3 other women, an Irish widow joining her brother in Boston, 2 Finnish sisters bound for domestic work in Chicago. You spend hours on deck watching the endless Atlantic, marveling at dolphins racing the bow wave. At nights so star-studded they make Thornfield skies seem dull. On the 8th morning, a cry rings out. Land. America. You join the press of passengers at the rail as New York materializes from the dawn mist, first a smudge, then a bristle of buildings taller than cathedrals. The Statue of Liberty emerges like a mirage, her torch gleaming in the rising sun. Ellis Island processing is a blur of medical inspections, paperwork, and endless queues. But suddenly you're through, clutching your stamped papers, stepping into the cacophony of the arrivals hall, and there she is. Catherine Blackwood looks utterly transformed, her hair styled in a loose modern bob, her practical shirtwaist dress devoid of lace or frills. She spots you and beams, waving with unladylike enthusiasm. "Lucy, over here." Her embrace knocks the breath from you. No curtsy, no formalities, just fierce affection that makes your eyes sting. "Welcome to America," she says, holding you at arm's length to study your face. "How was your journey?" "Long," you admit, your voice cracking. "But worth it." "I think it will be," she says, linking her arm through yours as Edward appears with your suitcase. "Come, we've so much to show you." The New York Public Library steals your breath, its marble halls echoing with footsteps and whispered conversations, sunlight streaming through towering windows onto endless bookshelves. Miss Preston, the head librarian, shakes your hand firmly. "We hear you've experience with children," she says, leading you to the sunny reading room where a dozen small faces peer up from picture books. "These are our Saturday regulars." That night, in your tiny but private room above the Blackwoods' apartment, you unfold the kid glove and place it beside your Tennyson collection. Outside, New York hums with impossible energy, electric lights glowing, automobiles honking, voices rising in a dozen languages. You trace the glove's delicate stitching one last time before tucking it into a drawer. Somewhere across the ocean, Thornfield's clocks still chime, its fires still burn, its servants still climb 64 stairs from attic to kitchen. But here, in this new world, you'll wake tomorrow to different rhythms, different challenges, different stairs to climb. The thought sends a shiver through you, not of fear, but of dizzying possibility. You blow out the candle and lie back, listening to the unfamiliar city sing you to sleep. The first morning in New York dawns with a cacophony of street vendors' cries and automobile horns that would have sent Thornfield's starlings scattering in panic. Sunlight slants through the thin curtains of your room above the Blackwoods apartment. Your room, with its own door that locks and a real mattress thicker than your forearm. Catherine knocks just as you're buttoning the blue dress you bought with your first library paycheck. No more drab servants black. "Come see," she insists, pulling you to the window. Below, the city pulses with frenetic energy. Delivery boys dart between horse-drawn wagons and honking motor trucks. A newsboy shouts headlines about President Taft. Women in shirtwaists march with votes for women's sashes. The sheer aliveness of it makes your knees weak. "Today's your library orientation," Catherine says, pressing a steaming cup of coffee into your hands. Strong and black, nothing like Thornfield's weak tea. "Miss Preston will show you the ropes. And tonight, there's a suffrage meeting I think you'll find." She grins. Illuminating. The New York Public Library's marble steps gleam in the morning light, their grandeur making you hesitate. But Miss Preston, a no-nonsense woman with a severe bun and kind eyes, greets you warmly. "Children's department is this way," she says, leading you past towering bookshelves where men in suits and shopgirls in shirtwaists read side by side. Your duties are worlds apart from scullery work, helping tiny fingers find picture books, reading aloud from The Wizard of Oz, shelving returned volumes with care. At noon, you're invited to eat in the staff lunchroom, a revolutionary concept where librarians and janitors share sandwiches and debate literature. "Your accent's charming," says red-haired Molly from the circulation desk. "English, is it?" "Yorkshire, originally," you admit, bracing for the usual sneers about northern dialects. But Molly just grins. "My gran came from Manchester. Say Bath for me." The weeks unfold in a whirlwind of new experiences. You learn to navigate the subway's rattling chaos, to decipher immigrant children's fractured English, to eat hot dogs from street vendors. At the suffrage meetings, fiery women debate strategies while Catherine takes meticulous notes for Edward's articles. One April evening, as you shelve books, a familiar voice says, "I thought that was you." Thomas, Thornfield's former footman, stands before you in a smart department store uniform, his grin wider than you ever saw in England. "Heard about the library job from Reverend Clark's letters. Had to see for myself." Over coffee at a nearby automat, he recounts his journey. Promoted to assistant buyer at Macy's, saving for night classes. "Turns out being able to stand still for hours comes in handy in retail," he jokes. Summer brings sweltering heat that makes the library's marble halls a refuge. You start an afternoon story hour that soon overflows with immigrant children, Italian, Jewish, Polish, their faces alight as you read Alice in Wonderland. One afternoon, Miss Preston calls you into her office. The board's creating a new position, assistant children's librarian. Formal training required. She slides a brochure across the desk. Pratt Institute Library Science Program. "I think you'd be ideal." That night, you spread the brochure on your bed beside Catherine's well-worn copy of Jane Eyre. 2 years ago, you were polishing silver at Thornfield. Now you're contemplating university. The thought sends a shiver down your spine. September arrives with crisp breezes that carry the promise of change. On your first day at Pratt, you clutch your notebook like a talisman as you walk past brownstones decked in autumn finery. The classroom is full of women, shopgirls, secretaries, even a former mill worker from Lowell. When the professor discusses Melville Dewey's decimal system, you nearly laugh aloud remembering Thornfield's obsession with numerical order. Only now the numbers open doors instead of locking you in. Midterm brings a letter from Martha, forwarded by Reverend Clark. Thornfield is changing. Mrs. Wilson retired. Mr. Simmons passed on. Half the staff gone to factories or shops. The electric lights make the place feel different, she writes. Not better or worse, just not what it was. You reply with pages about your studies, the library, the vibrant chaos of New York. Enclosed is a photograph of you at your circulation desk, smiling in a way no Thornfield servant ever would for a camera. Winter transforms the city into a wonderland of storefront displays and chestnut vendors. On Christmas Eve, the Blackwoods host a party where suffragists mingle with writers and artists. You're discussing Ibsen's A Doll's House with a Barnard College student when Catherine pulls you aside. Someone's here to see you. In the hallway stands your mother. Thinner, grayer, but beaming. Got a position with a dressmaker in Brooklyn, she says, crushing you in a hug that smells faintly of lavender and thread. Couldn't let my clever girl have all the adventures. The years unfold like the pages of the books you love. You graduate Pratt with distinction. Miss Preston retires, recommending you as her successor. The children's department expands under your care. Story hours, literacy programs, even a puppet theater. One spring afternoon in 1917, as war rages across Europe, a familiar figure enters the library. Lady Thornfield, now just Eleanor, wears a simple suit and carries a nurse's bag. Volunteering with the Red Cross, she explains over tea. Catherine wrote that you. She hesitates, then corrects herself. Lucy might help me find suitable books for convalescing soldiers. As you guide her through the stacks, she says quietly, "You've done well for yourself. We all find our own paths," you reply, handing her a volume of poetry. The war ends. The roaring 20s arrive with jazz and flappers, and women finally getting the vote. You move into your own apartment near Central Park, its shelves overflowing with books. Some nights, when the city noise fades, you take out the kid glove from Thornfield and the Tennyson collection, running your fingers over their well-worn surfaces. Then one October day in 1929, the stock market crashes. The library becomes a refuge for jobless men and hungry children. You work tirelessly, organizing soup kitchens in the basement, reading to shivering families huddled in the reading rooms. It's during this chaos that a letter arrives from Yorkshire. Martha's shaky handwriting tells of Thornfield's decline. Sold to a manufacturer, most of its grand rooms converted to offices. "I've a cottage in the village now," she writes. "Never thought I'd live to see the day when great houses fall and servants retire." That night, standing at your apartment window overlooking the glittering city, you realize something profound. The world that made Thornfield possible is gone. Not vanished in a blaze of glory, but eroded slowly by time and change, like cliffs worn by the sea. You take down The Lady of Shalott and read it once more by lamplight. Not as an allegory of confinement now, but as a reminder that some risks, some leaps into the unknown, are worth taking. The next morning, you arrive early at the library, greeting the janitor in Spanish you've painstakingly learned. The children will arrive soon, their faces pressed against the glass doors, eager for stories that might transport them, just as stories once transported you, from darkness into light. The Great Depression's shadow lingers over New York like stubborn fog well into 1933. Each morning, you arrive at the library to find new faces huddled on the steps. Men in threadbare suits clutching want-ads, mothers rocking hungry children, veterans with hollow eyes who still flinch at sudden noises. The marble halls that once echoed with scholarly whispers now hum with the low murmur of despair. One bitter January morning, as you're setting out donated bread and coffee in the basement, a commotion erupts upstairs. You arrive to find Miss Preston facing off against a group of well-dressed men, the library board members, their polished shoes glaringly out of place against the worn linoleum. "These people are not our responsibility," the chairman is saying, his jowls quivering with indignation. "This is a place of learning, not a soup kitchen." Miss Preston's knuckles whiten around her clipboard. "And what exactly do we learn from turning away the hungry, Mr. Vanderlip?" The confrontation ends with Miss Preston tendering her resignation on the spot. That evening, Over watery coffee in her tiny apartment, she grips your hands with surprising strength. They'll offer you my position. Take it, then change things from within. She's right, of course. The offer comes the next week, along with a stern warning from the board about maintaining standards. You accept with a polite smile that doesn't reach your eyes. Your first act as head children's librarian is to convert the seldom-used lecture hall into a 24-hour shelter on the coldest nights. The second is to start a literacy program for the unemployed, recruiting Catherine and Edward to teach evening classes. The board grumbles, but dares not object. Not when newspaper photographers keep capturing the plucky librarian, reading to shivering children under the famous lion statues. Spring brings a different kind of upheaval. A letter arrives from Martha, the handwriting more tremulous than last time. They're pulling down Thornfield's east wing next month, making room for some factory extension. Mrs. Wilson passed last winter, fell asleep by her fire, and never woke. Funny to think of that dragon bested by something as simple as time. The news settles over you like fine ash. You take the kid glove from its drawer that night, running your fingers over leather gone brittle with age. Outside your window, the city pulses with its usual relentless energy. Taxi horns blaring, newsboys shouting about Roosevelt's latest fireside chat. It's impossible to reconcile this vibrant present with the crumbling relic of your past. On impulse, you book passage on a steamer bound for England. Not to stay, just to see, to remember, perhaps to finally lay some ghosts to rest. The voyage east feels surreal after nearly 25 years. The ship is fancier now, no more cramped third-class berths, though you still catch yourself eyeing the staff with automatic sympathy. When a young steward drops a tray, your muscles tense with remembered dread before you recall you're not the one who'll be punished. Liverpool's docks are smaller than you remember, the city grayer. The train to Yorkshire rattles through landscapes both achingly familiar and strangely altered. New factories squatting where meadows once bloomed, motor cars crowding roads that knew only horses and carts in your youth. The village hasn't changed much, though the Red Lion now boasts an electric sign. Martha's cottage is easy to find. Everyone knows the Thornfield lady's maid. When you knock, the woman who answers is nearly unrecognizable. Frail where she was formidable, her once ramrod posture softened by age. For a long moment, she just stares. Then, took you long enough. The hug that follows lasts longer than either of you would have allowed in the old days. Over tea strong enough to stain the cup, Martha catches you up on 3 decades of village gossip. Who married whom? Who emigrated? Who died in the Great War? They say Lady Margaret's boy gambled away the family fortune. She mentions casually, refilling your cup. Had to sell Thornfield to some industrialist in 26. You walk to the estate the next morning, the path overgrown but still traceable. The great house looms in the distance, its once proud facade now marred by boarded windows and peeling paint. The east wing is indeed half demolished, workmen swarming like ants over crumbling masonry. Closer to the village, you spot something that makes your breath catch. The churchyard. Reverend Clark's grave is well tended, fresh flowers at the headstone. Next to it lies Mrs. Wilson's plot, the stone bearing an epitaph that would have horrified her in life. Beloved friend and mentor. The reading circle still meets, Martha tells you that evening. Now in the village hall, with grandchildren of the original members attending. They read that Mr. Hemingway you sent last Christmas caused quite the stir. Your last day in Yorkshire, you take the train to London to visit your mother's grave in Highgate Cemetery. The stone is simple but well kept, paid for with your first year's library wages. You place a sprig of lavender from Martha's garden on it, remembering how she'd blossomed in Brooklyn, trading her seamstress needles for a milliner's shop of her own. The return voyage feels lighter somehow, as if you've shed an invisible weight. When New York's skyline appears on the horizon, taller and more glittering than ever, your heart lifts with unexpected joy. Back at the library, changes await. The New Deal has brought funding for a mobile library project, trucks filled with books to reach tenement neighborhoods. You throw yourself into the work with renewed vigor, recruiting multilingual volunteers to serve immigrant communities. One afternoon in 1937, while sorting donated books in the basement, you come across a familiar title, Pride and Prejudice, the same edition Lady Catherine gave you decades ago. The spine falls open to a pressed flower, a violet from Thornfield's gardens, perhaps, and a slip of paper in handwriting you'd recognize anywhere. For Lucy, who found her own way out of the tower, you stare at it for a long moment before tucking it into your wallet, next to your voter registration card and a photograph of your mother laughing in her Brooklyn hat shop. The years continue their relentless march. War comes again, taking some of your best volunteers. The mobile library trucks are repurposed as ambulances, then return bearing stickers from Normandy and Okinawa. You help start a program sending books to soldiers overseas. Catherine's idea, naturally. When retirement finally comes in 1955, the staff throws you a party in the main reading room. Dozens of former library children attend, now doctors, teachers, even a state senator. Molly, your old colleague from circulation, presents you with a first edition of The Lady of Shalott, its flyleaf signed by every staff member. That night, as you pack your office, Edward arrives with an unexpected gift, a tape recorder and microphone. For your memoirs, he says with a wink. The children of Thornfield deserve their history too. You begin the project reluctantly at first, then with growing fascination. Speaking into the microphone, the past unspools with startling clarity. The feel of straw mattresses, the smell of polishing wax, the exact number of stairs from attic to kitchen. But it's the people who come alive most vividly. Martha's no-nonsense wisdom, Mrs. Wilson's hidden kindnesses, Lady Catherine's quiet rebellions. One rainy afternoon, as you're describing the library's wartime efforts, the doorbell rings. A delivery boy hands you a package from England. Inside, carefully wrapped in tissue paper, is a single Wedgwood plate of the same pattern you'd once feared breaking. The enclosed note reads simply, "Found during demolition. Thought you should have it. M." You place it on your bookshelf beside the kid glove and Tennyson collection, three relics of a vanished world. Outside, New York hums with mid-century energy, teenagers in poodle skirts jitterbugging to rock and roll, television antennas sprouting from rooftops like metallic flowers. That evening, you take the subway to Catherine and Edward's for dinner. Their Greenwich Village apartment is cluttered with manuscripts and protest signs. Now it's McCarthyism they're fighting. Over Coke au vin, Catherine mentions she's been corresponding with a young woman from Alabama who's starting a library for Negro children. You should write to her, Catherine says, passing the breadbasket. Share what you've learned. And so you do, that very night. The letter flows easily, filled with hard-won wisdom about overcoming obstacles, finding allies in unexpected places, the transformative power of stories. When you sign your name, you add something new beneath it, something your 15-year-old self could never have imagined. Lucy Bennett, Head Librarian Emeritus, New York Public Library. The words look right somehow, like the final piece of a puzzle clicking into place. You seal the envelope and place it by the door for morning posting, then turn out the light. Somewhere beyond your window, the city that gave you a second life continues its endless reinvention, just as you have, time and again. The autumn of 1963 finds you in your Greenwich Village apartment, the morning sunlight filtering through the lace curtains you brought back from England a decade ago. At 73, your hands bear the faint tremor of age, but they still move with purpose as you arrange the tea service. The Wedgwood plate from Martha is centered carefully on the tray. Today's visitor is special. Claire Donovan, the young librarian from Alabama you've been corresponding with, finally made it to New York. Her letters about establishing a colored children's library in Montgomery had stirred something deep in your memory. The same stubborn hope that once led you to hide books beneath a servant's mattress. The doorbell rings precisely at 11. Claire stands on your threshold, her crisp yellow dress a burst of sunshine against the hallway's gloom. "Miss Bennett," she says, extending a hand. "It's an honor." Over Earl Grey and scones, her passion spills forth. The threats from segregationists, the church basement that houses their makeshift library, The white donors who rescind support when the Freedom Riders come to town. They burned our first shipment of books last week, she says matter-of-factly, stirring sugar into her tea. So we're starting again. Your fingers tighten around your cup. Some things, it seems, never change. Only the faces of the oppressors do. Tell me, you say, setting down your tea, have you read about the mobile library project we ran during the Depression? The afternoon dissolves into strategizing. You show her your old blueprints for the book trucks, introduce her to contacts at publishing houses, promise to speak at her fundraiser. When she admires your Tennyson collection, you press the well-worn volume into her hands. Every rebellion needs poets, you say with a wink. After she leaves, you find yourself drawn to the tape recorder Edward gave you. There are stories you haven't told yet, ones Claire and her generation need to hear. You press record, your voice gaining strength as you speak. The summer of 1908, Lady Catherine gave me 3 books. The narrative flows like the Thames at high tide. The secret reading, the hushed conversations, the moment you realized even aristocrats could feel trapped. When you describe the kid glove hidden in your suitcase as the ship pulled away from Liverpool, your breath catches unexpectedly. That night, you dream of Thornfield, not as it was in your youth, but as you last saw it, ivy-choked and crumbling, its grand staircase littered with factory workers' cigarette butts. Mrs. Wilson appears in the dream, her ring of keys still jangling at her waist. "You've done well, Lucy," she says, her voice softer than you remember. "Better than any of us dared hope." You wake with tears drying on your cheeks, the first snow of winter dusting your fire escape. The dream lingers with you as you dress, as you water your spider plant, as you prepare your weekly grocery list. By afternoon, you've made a decision. The New York Public Library's Rare Books room houses your donated papers, correspondence, photographs, the original mobile library plans. Today, you add something new. The kid glove and its tissue paper, the Wedgwood plate, and the tape recordings. These belong to history now, you tell the wide-eyed archivist. Let the Claire Donovans of tomorrow find them. Spring arrives early in 1964. You spend your mornings in Washington Square Park, watching chess players and folk singers while scribbling notes for your memoir. One breezy April day, a familiar figure settles beside you on the bench. Edward, now white-haired but still sporting his trademark bow tie. "Catherine sent me," he says, handing you a newspaper clipping. The headline reads, "Montgomery Library desegregated after year-long standoff." Below it, a beaming Claire Donovan holds aloft a copy of The Lady of Shalott. You read the article twice before folding it carefully into your purse. "She did it. We all play our part," Edward says, patting your knee. Speaking of which, he produces a battered shoebox from his satchel. Inside are dozens of letters from Lady Catherine, spanning 1908 to her death in 1942. Thought you might want these for your archives. That night, you read until dawn. Page after page reveals a woman you never fully knew. Her struggles adapting to America, her work with settlement houses, her quiet grief at being estranged from her parents. The final letter, dated just before Pearl Harbor, contains a startling confession. "I sometimes wonder who had the greater courage, me with my grand gestures, or you with your quiet daily rebellions. You crossed an ocean alone, Lucy. You built a life from nothing. That takes a different kind of bravery." The words blur as tears well up. All these years, you'd measured yourself against Lady Catherine's boldness, never realizing she'd been doing the same. Summer brings the Civil Rights Act and a visit from Claire, who insists you accompany her to the White House ceremony honoring the Montgomery librarians. You decline gently. Your marching days are past, but gift her your mother's locket for the trip. Every movement needs its historians, you tell her, fastening the chain around her neck. As the decade turns, New York changes around you. The folk singers in the park give way to hippies with guitars, the chess players to radicals debating Vietnam. Your apartment becomes a pilgrimage site of sorts. Young librarians seeking advice, graduate students researching progressive-era reforms, even a BBC crew documenting servant life in Edwardian England. You entertain them all with tea and stories, though you notice your recollections grow softer at the edges with time. The sting of chilblains fades, the terror of dropping priceless china dims. What remains sharp as ever are the human connections, Martha's dry wit, Mrs. Wilson's unexpected kindnesses, the way Lady Catherine's eyes lit up when discussing Tennyson. On your 85th birthday, the library throws a surprise party in the children's reading room. Dozens of former library kids, now doctors, teachers, even a Pulitzer-winning novelist, pack the space. When they present you with a first edition of The Souls of Black Folk signed by Claire Donovan, the tears come freely. That night, as you sort through the mountain of cards and gifts, your fingers brush the kid glove in its display case. For the first time in decades, you take it out, running your fingers over the delicate stitching. Somewhere beyond your window, the city pulses with its endless energy. Taxis honking, jazz drifting up from the village, the distant wail of sirens. But here, in this quiet moment, you're simply Lucy Bennett again, the scullery maid who dared to dream, the librarian who changed lives, the woman who crossed an ocean and found herself. You place the glove gently back in its case, switch off the lamp, and let the sounds of your adopted city lull you to sleep. The first snow of 1975 finds you in your armchair by the window, watching flakes swirl over Washington Square like feathers shaken loose from some celestial pillow. At 85, your world has grown smaller. The apartment, the park, the occasional trip to the library where your portrait now hangs in the director's corridor. But your mind remains as sharp as the day you first set foot in New York, perhaps sharper now with the weight of memories polished smooth by time. Today's mail brings an unexpected treasure, a parcel from the BBC containing the finished documentary about Edwardian servants. You slide the tape into the recorder with trembling fingers, bracing for the inevitable flood of ghosts. The screen flickers to life with images of Thornfield's crumbling facade, now preserved only on celluloid. A familiar voiceover begins. In an era when 1.5 million Britons lived in service, the rigid hierarchy below stairs mirrored the class system above. Then suddenly, there you are, your younger self in living black and white, sitting stiffly in Claire's Greenwich Village apartment being interviewed. The camera lingers on your hands as you demonstrate how to polish silver properly, your fingers moving with muscle memory decades old. The trick was to use circular motions with the rouge cloth, your recorded voice explains. Not too much pressure, but enough to bring up the shine. Mrs. Wilson could spot a smudge from 20 paces. The memory ambushes you with startling clarity, the smell of metal polish, the ache in your knees from hours of scrubbing, the way winter mornings turned your breath to fog in the unheated pantry. But what strikes you most is the expression on your younger face as you recount these memories. Not bitterness, but something closer to wonder. The documentary shifts to academics discussing servant life, but you barely hear them. Your gaze drifts to the kid glove displayed in its glass case on your bookshelf, the once supple leather now stiff with age. Outside, snow continues to fall, muting the sounds of the city into a lullaby. That night, you dream of Thornfield in its prime, sunlight streaming through the morning room windows, the scent of beeswax and lavender hanging in the air. Mrs. Wilson stands at the head of the servants' table, her keys glinting as she assigns duties. But when she calls your name, you realize with a start that you're not among the servants. You're sitting at the family's dining table, wearing one of Lady Catherine's old gowns. You wake with a gasp, the dream's significance settling over you like snowfall. All these years, you'd carried Thornfield with you, not as a burden, but as proof of how far you'd come. January brings a letter from Claire, now heading the American Library Association's Literacy Initiative. Enclosed is a photograph of a new mobile library in Selma, its shelves stocked with books bearing your donated collection's bookplates. The children call it Miss Lucy's book wagon, she writes. I told them how you once carried knowledge across an ocean. You traced the photo with a fingertip, marveling at the circularity of it all. The scullery maid who became a librarian, the stories that refused to stay confined. That afternoon, You dictate one final tape for the archives, recounting details too intimate for the BBC cameras. The true secret of service wasn't in the polishing or the cleaning, though heaven knows we did enough of both. It was in learning to see everything: the scuffs on a boot, the dust on a mantle, the unspoken needs of those who considered themselves your betters. That skill, oddly enough, made me an excellent librarian. As winter loosens its grip, your days settle into a gentle rhythm. Mornings with the newspaper, afternoons receiving visitors, evenings listening to classical music on the radio. Sometimes young librarians come to interview you about the early days of children's services. Sometimes graduate students ask about your suffrage work. You entertain them all with tea and stories, though you notice your recollections grow more selective with time. The chilblains and hunger fade. The kindnesses and small triumphs remain. On the first warm day of spring, Edward arrives with a wheelchair and an outrageous Panama hat. "The cherry blossoms are blooming in Brooklyn," he announces. "You're coming to see them." The Botanic Garden is awash in pink when you arrive, the trees heavy with blooms that drift like confetti in the breeze. Edward pushes you along the paths, pointing out rare species with the enthusiasm of a man half his age. Near the Japanese garden, you spot a familiar figure, Claire, sitting on a bench with a toddler on her lap. "Surprise," Edward whispers as she waves you over. The little girl, Claire's granddaughter, studies you with solemn brown eyes before suddenly reaching for your hand. "Grandma says you know all the stories," she announces. You feel something unclench in your chest, some final knot of doubt loosened by this child's unquestioning acceptance. "I know a few," you admit, taking her small hand in your gnarled one. That night, back in your apartment, you take down the Tennyson collection and open it to the Lady of Shalott. The pages fall open easily to the most worn passage. "She left the web, she left the loom. Out flew the web and floated wide. The mirror cracked from side to side. The curse has come upon me," cried the Lady of Shalott. You trace the lines with a fingertip, remembering how they terrified and thrilled you in equal measure all those years ago. Now you see what you couldn't then, that the lady's tragedy wasn't in leaving the tower, but in believing the curse was real. Outside your window, New York hums its endless night song. Car horns, laughter, the distant wail of a saxophone. Somewhere beyond the city limits, Claire's granddaughter is falling asleep to stories you helped preserve. Somewhere across the ocean, Thornfield's ruins continue their slow return to the earth. And here, in this quiet moment between breaths, you are simply Lucy, the girl who dared, the woman who built, the soul who refused to be defined by towers real or imagined. You close the book gently, switch off the lamp, and let the rhythm of the city carry you into dreams of cherry blossoms drifting on spring breezes.